that time in 2015 when Victor Newman had Jack Abbott replaced with a twin double lookalike who turned out to be a South American drug lord? His name was Marco Annicelli, and he became the center of a Y&R plot so twisted, even Google can't keep it straight. From March to August of 2015, The Young and the Restless turned into a full-blown crime saga with identity theft, violation, murder cover-ups, a dirty cop, a shooting in the park, and Victor almost killing Jack. This is the story of Marco Annicelli and how Victor Newman created a monster that he couldn't control. It was all fun and speculation at first. The Young and the Restless fans started to notice that Jack was acting different. The way he talked, the way he moved, the way he dressed. Sweaters on Jack Abbott? For over a month, the viewers were divided. Is this Jack or is this not Jack? Then, on a beautiful remote island in St. Barts, the twist was revealed. Jack and Phyllis are glowing together on their honeymoon, just married, and then, surprise! The real Jack is tied to a bed, being held against his will by an unhinged former flame named Kelly Andrews. Over the course of the next month, the real Jack is drugged, deprived of food and water, bruised and abused by Kelly in an attempt to get him to love her. And who's behind the scenes, pulling the strings on it all? Victor Newman. Back in Genoa City, fake Jack is having a great time living real Jack's life. Sleeping with real Jack's wife and spending real Jack's money. But this Jack seems off. Jack Abbott is usually cautious. He's usually strategic, more conservative. This Jack is making choices that Jack Abbott wouldn't never make. He wears casual attire and purple paisley ties. Jack Abbott would never wear a purple paisley tie. Fake Jack also buys a $400,000 hot red Ferrari and then crashes it. Hard not to notice. But Victor notices. Because this is not just an impersonation anymore. Marco isn't just playing Jack. He's enjoying being Jack. And that wasn't part of Victor's plan. Marco's enjoyment of Jack's lifestyle spills into the most devastating part of the story. Phyllis. Phyllis believes that she's with her new husband in every way. But she isn't. She is in fact sleeping with a dangerous skeevy criminal. And she senses something is different. He's more dominant. He's more aggressive. He wants to do it all the time. But she explains it away as honeymoon passion, and it's not really addressed on screen until after this whole mess is over. I want to note that it was the Y&R fans who really brought this infamous facet of the story to the forefront. Phyllis was being violated repeatedly, and Marco was the one who committed the act, but Victor created the conditions that made it possible. So who is this man masquerading as Jack? Do we even know? Well, it wasn't fully explained on screen right away. A month went by before Marco suddenly started speaking Spanish. And Victor finally did some research. He found out the guy's real name and that he was on the FBI's most wanted list. No photo, of course. Why would Victor do this in the first place? He didn't replace Jack because he wanted him dead. What Victor actually wanted was Jack's family company, Jabot. Victor wanted to create a new company, Newman Abbott, and he needed a fake Jack in order to pull it off. So he trained Marco, studying Jack's life like it was a role, how he talks, how he walks, how he commands a room, how he interacts with family. But what Victor didn't know, and what was only revealed later, was that Marco was already aware of his uncanny resemblance to a Genoa City cosmetics tycoon. And Marco was always planning to go along with Victor's Jabot takeover plan, but then he was also planning to boot Victor out as soon as possible. But again, that part wasn't revealed at first. It developed as it became clear that Victor Newman had no idea who he was really dealing with. Back at Kelly's crazy Caribbean villa, the real Jack is a broken man, barely recognizable and completely brainwashed. Well, almost completely brainwashed. Just as it seems that Kelly has convinced Jack to live happily ever after together with her, they go to consummate their fake love life. And when Jack comes through the fog, Kelly is lying dead in a pool of blood beside him. He flees the villa, jumps on a drug boat headed to America, and is discovered as a stowaway by a beautiful woman named Marisa, who also just so happens to be Marco's long-lost love. Oh, she is overjoyed to see Marco again. But Jack convinces her he's not Marco, he's in trouble, and she agrees to help him. Marisa creates a distraction for the boat captain, while Jack remembers his Boy Scout training and conjures up a little explosion. The boat blows up to pieces, but Jack and Marisa survive, and together they sneak Jack back to the heartland of Genoa City. But the real Jack doesn't go home right away. No, too simple. He stays hidden, watching from the shadows as another man sits in his office, hugs his sisters, and sleeps with his wife. Uh-oh, now someone notices there are two Jacks wandering around. Austin Travers records video evidence of it, and Marco finds out. He panics, and he doesn't go to Victor. He hires Detective Harding, the local cop, to erase the evidence and get rid of Austin. Austin doesn't back down, so Harding murders him. Courtney Sloane gets pulled into this whole spiral, and she's killed too. But none of that was revealed until 7 months after it happened and after Harding was dead. The whodunit of Austin and Courtney's murder loomed over Genoa City this whole time as the Scooby Doo Gang, the younger generation of the show, tried to figure out who killed their friends. And it was infuriating to watch. And connecting Marco to the murder was a completely tacked on ending. But had it been threaded properly throughout, in retrospect, this was actually the moment that the storyline fully transformed. People weren't just being hurt anymore. They were dying to keep Victor Newman's plan intact. But when Victor finally goes to clean up the mess he's made, he pulls the trigger on the wrong man. Victor is lured into a meeting with Marco in the park at night. Marco's plan? Get Victor to shoot him while he's wearing a bulletproof vest, pretend to be dead, frame Victor for Jack Abbott's murder, and use Victor's own son, Adam, aka Gabriel, to do it. And Victor walked right into the trap. Victor pulls a gun and fires without hesitation right into the chest. But wait a minute. The man on the ground isn't wearing a bulletproof vest. And there's real blood spilled on the grass at Catherine Chancellor Memorial Park. Victor didn't shoot Marco. He shot the real Jack Abbott. Jack falls into a weeks-long coma, and Marco flees with Marisa, but on their way out of town, the car crashes into the lake. Marisa survives, but Marco is nowhere to be found. Okay, phew, the nightmare appears to be over. Marco's at least gone. Jack's out of the coma. He's back at his house, at his office, in his own bed. But the nightmare isn't over. It's actually just beginning. Jack tells Phyllis, the true story of how he was kidnapped and held against his will. And she puts together the pieces of how she had been deceived. She wasn't sleeping with her husband. She had been sleeping with a monster the entire time. And Victor Newman used her own body as a way to facilitate his sick plot, all just to gain control of Jabot. Phyllis was used, violated, played for a fool. And Phyllis would never be the same. Jack would never be the same either. How could his own family not know it was him? That's a head trip for you. Phyllis and Jack came up with a code word, though, a way that she would always be able to tell that it was him and not Marco. An insurance policy in case the monster ever came back. But Jack didn't go to the cops. Why didn't Jack just go to the cops? Instead, he covered up for Victor. Jack had enough evidence to put Victor Newman away right then and there. But Jack had also committed a few crimes in the process that he did not want to answer for. He killed Kelly. He blew up a boatload of people. And Victor was very quick to remind Jack that speaking out about any of that, anything that has happened with the twin and Marco, would surely send Jack right back to South America to face his crimes. And after how hard and how long Jack had fought to get back to his life in Genoa City, he was not about to go backwards. And then, one night, a power outage. All of Genoa City was in the shadows. Jack comes home to see Phyllis, but it's not Jack. It's Marco. And now, Phyllis knows it. And she tells him she knows it. He chases her around the living room. She knees him right in the crotch. But in the scramble, he gets away. He flees to the Abbott cabin. Marisa follows him. She lures him into the bed and then ties him to it. Jack, Phyllis, and Victor all arrive at the Abbott cabin, and one by one, they all have their say. Fake Jack and real Jack are coming face to face for the first time. The same face, in the same room, the same voice. Clever camera trickery. And Marco taunts Jack, claiming that he's the better Jack Abbott. Jack snaps and almost kills him. Phyllis grabs a knife and almost cuts his you-know-what off. And then Victor's security team steps in. Marco is dragged away back to the same prison Victor found him in. But not before Victor gives us one final chilling piece of information. Victor reveals that he had Marco permanently disfigured so that Marco Annicelli could never impersonate Jack Abbott again. Cut to Marco on a plane with a bandage over what used to be his ear. For years, Victor Newman operated above the law. But Marco Annicelli was the bridge too far. In 2016, The great Victor Newman finally traded his corporate attire for a prison-issue jumpsuit. The courtroom became a trial of all Victor's crimes. His family turned on him, devastated to learn what he had done. Jack took the stand and recounted his whole year-long struggle, but the most devastating moment, Phyllis. She didn't testify about the corporate merger and the forged signatures. She testified about the man who stole her husband's face to get her into bed, and that Victor was the one behind it all. Victor sat there, stoic, claiming that he did it all to protect his family, did it all to save the company. But the jury didn't see a protector. The jury saw a man who had played this disgusting game with other people's lives. The verdict? Guilty. The sentence? 10 years in the state prison. And for the first time in the history of their feud, Jack Abbott got the final word. He sent Victor Newman straight to a cell. Victor had Jack replaced with an imposter, someone who he thought would be a useful tool, named Marco Annicelli. But Marco exposed something darker about Victor. That Victor's greatest crimes don't happen when it comes to business. Victor's greatest crimes happen when he decides that someone else's life is expendable. So here's the question that fans still argue about today. Was this Victor Newman's worst crime? Or was this just the one that caught up with him? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts on this infamous story.